to my garden. As you just saw, I was working a little bit on my Espalier and it is finally done. Well, almost. I still have to hook it up to drip irrigation, but after that, it is finally done. So let me show you the final product. And there it is. Doesn't that look so good right there? It just needed it so badly. It was such a blank white wall. It needed something to weight this other part, you know, with the roof right there. I think that this balances the house out a little bit until we get the whole courtyard and gate right here. I think that this is going to do that. And it was so easy and it was so cheap. And yes, it did take me longer than a day, but I really took my time that day. I took like hours of a break in the middle of the day. So I do think you can get this done in a day if you have kind of a small wall like I have. This is a 23-foot long wall. I had a couple people ask me, I did 4 feet point to point, right? So this is 4 feet here to here. This is 4 feet here to here. And I like that size. Draw it out on a graph paper, draw your wall out or draw your fence out so you can decide what size diamonds you like, or if you don't want to do diamonds, you can just do squares, or like a fruit espalier, which is kind of, I don't know how you would describe that. It's like just lines across, horizontal lines. So anyway, as this grows, as my star jasmine grows, I will just keep weaving it around the wire, and I'll come out here and I'll just keep kind of weaving it just like that, making sure that it's training itself the right way. And it just gets to be part of your, you know, your schedule. You walk past it and you say, oh, I need to wind it up. And it's really easy. And with star jasmine, the sleep, creep, leap, once it starts leaping, it's like you just start hacking at it, right? You just start cutting it down and just trying to keep it in check. And it's just the most beautiful thing. And it will be so beautiful when it blooms. And I think it'll be really happy here. I did want to show you, so you can kind of see right here on this one, what I did is I separated the long vines and then I trained some of them up one side, some of them up the other side. And then I came through and I cut all the excess ones, the ones that I wasn't using, just to limit how much bulk is right here. So you can see, like this one, I didn't prune as much. I actually think I'm going to come back and prune some there because I like how it looks where it's not so bulky down at the bottom of the diamonds. This plant was a little bit more sparse than the other ones, but I did want to show you all. If you ever want to see a star jasmine seed pod, look at that. Isn't that neat? I had these on my last star jasmine at my old house and they were huge. Now, something to remember, they're really hard to start from seed. So, like you can try, but it's so much easier just to propagate them by cutting if you're trying to do that. But it's always fun to see a star jasmine have a seed pod because in my mind, that means that they're happy. So I had some other questions about how to keep star jasmine happy, and so a lot of people were saying that they would have like red leaves pop up or yellow leaves pop up or anything like that, something, you know, stuff like that. I have found star jasmine likes more water than you think, right? It doesn't need a ton of water, but it does have to get established. So I am fully expecting these plants to kind of go into shock a little bit now that I've planted them, and I'm just going to be waiting for them to get established. When I planted them, I did rough up the roots quite a bit. So I'm expecting a lot of these leaves to kind of turn yellow and to kind of fall off, but in the spring they'll come back. So if you start noticing that on your star jasmine, give it some extra water. You know, I mean, you can fertilize it, but that's probably not the issue. Usually it's a water thing in my experience. Okay, so now that the Espalier is done, I have 2 things on my agenda that I wanted to get done today. One of them was kind of explaining to you all a little bit better about my plans for my no-till garden in my front yard, really in my whole garden. And I've talked about it a little bit, but I don't think I've explained it well enough. I've talked about it, like mentioned it in this video and then quickly mentioned it in this other video. And I think I'm confusing a lot of people. I have a lot of plans up here and I have it all kind of thought out in my head and planned out in my head, but I don't think I'm verbalizing it very well. So I just wanted to clear up some things about my plans to have a no-till garden. So first off, I want to say that I am not judgmental at all till versus no-till. I am neutral party line. I think that there's benefits to both ways. No-till is really, really common for raised garden beds. I see a lot of content on raised garden beds, the no-till method. I've done it in my backyard. So far, it seems to be working fabulous, but there's not a lot of information out there on doing no-till for like a garden, right? For like a yard. And I think that that is because a lot of people don't have access to a garden that is untouched, that is natural soil that hasn't been messed with a lot, right? I have this garden that's almost an acre and it hasn't been touched in years and years and years and years. So I have this special opportunity here to try this no-till technique that the research is coming out with, saying how good it is for our soil, how good it is for the drainage and for the structure of the soil and for the mycorrhizae in the soil and the biome. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on underneath the soil. There's a lot of stuff going on up above. We can see the leaves and weeds and grasses and all that kind of stuff and bugs. There's a ton of stuff going on underground as well. And the theory is that when you till it, you mess up that whole underground ecosystem, right? And your soil can't handle that sometimes, and it basically has issues. And so the thought is the less you disturb your soil, the better, the healthier your soil will be. And eventually, as you do certain treatments to it, and I'll show you that in a bit, your soil will start to kind of improve, right? As you start adding nutrients to it and taking good care of it. So I am, like I said, I'm in this special situation where I have this untouched ground, and I want to try this. It's really, it's really, really interesting to me. One thing I love about gardening is that I learn something new almost every single day. I am learning something new. And the gardening community is also learning new things every day. Like, for instance, we all used to think it was completely okay to put gravel in the bottom of our pots to improve drainage. And now we know that is not good at all. It's like, does the opposite of what we want it to do. And we've all learned that. And so we've all stopped doing that. And so now the next new big thing is this no-till stuff. And so it's just something I want to try. No judgment either way, but I thought it would be fun just to see how it works with this garden. So you've seen me plant my Estrelita Little Star. You've seen me plant my Gatsby Pink oak leaf hydrangea, and then a couple other shrubs over there in the center island. And a lot of people were shocked that I was doing this, that I was planting right in the middle of weeds, right? And the response was kind of, okay, well, if you plant in the middle of weeds, aren't the weeds going to grow up and just absolutely take over the shrub? And the answer is yes, absolutely. If I didn't do anything to the surrounding area, it would be weeds and then a shrub in the middle of the weeds, which this would grow out of it, because this Gatsby Pink hydrangea is going to get 8 feet tall, but I would have weeds growing up all around it. So, but this was just the first step. So for the no-till garden bed, first thing you want to do is you want to cut back all the weeds. So you can see I've weed whacked them all the way down to the ground. Then what you want to do is you want to plant your big plants. You want to plant your trees, right? So I've planted my willow, Robbie the willow over there. And then you want to plant your big shrubs, right? So I've planted the hydrangea. I've planted a couple other ones. I have more shrubs that I want to plant, but that's kind of what I have in right now. Then after you plant your big plants, then you want to come in with this application right here. And this is just an example. Shay and I did this the other day, just so I could kind of show you all what my plans were. I have cardboard just laid right over the weeds, right over the grass, right? And then on top of that cardboard, I have a couple inches of compost. This needs to be raked out. But this is what I'm going to do over the whole garden. And I'm doing it myself, right? I wish I was actually looking up those little bobcats, to see how much they cost, and way out of my budget. They were like $20,000 to $25,000. And then I was looking, I can actually rent one. And so I was thinking maybe I can rent one and get this done a little bit quicker. But this is going to take a long time. I'm just planning to do garden bed by garden bed, and I will come around and I will lay down cardboard that doesn't have any tape on it. It's all clean, and then compost over it. And what will happen is the compost and the cardboard will break down, and it will break down into the soil, and that soil will absorb all those nutrients while at the same time smothering all the weeds. And it's supposed to be a really, really good way to rejuvenate your soil. So when you plant the trees or when you plant the shrubs, they're big enough that you can just come around and put cardboard here, and then put compost all over it, right? So you kind of just work around the big shrubs. So that was my plan. You know, that's why I wanted to get the shrubs in. And I wanted, you know, I'm kind of on a time crunch for getting a lot of these shrubs, and I do have perennials that I want to get in. So anyway, so this is my plan. This is my plan for my whole garden. Once, you know, as time goes on, it's probably going to be a while. It's probably going to be like a year, right? But we will see the whole garden will be covered with cardboard and compost. And then eventually I'll put mulch on top, because you don't have to put mulch on top, but it is recommended, especially if you live in a hot environment, because compost, at least here where I live, it is just, it doesn't do anything that mulch does. Mulch really, really protects the ground from getting too hot, which is another way to protect the biome of your soil, which is why mulch is really, really good. So that is my plan for the no-till method. That is my plan for my garden bed. It's gonna look like a mess for a while, guys, but I really am excited for this technique, and I'm excited to see how it does. And if it's a total failure, that's okay. I can just come back in with a rototiller and I can till everything up. And I know it's kind of scary when you guys see my soil, and my soil is so hard and so rocky and so yucky, but even with that type of soil, this method is supposed to work wonders. If it is a total failure, then at least we can see it, right? We can document it, and we can see this experiment and see that this experiment doesn't work. But I really do think it's going to work, just based on, you know, all the people that I've talked, all the research on no-till farms versus till farms. I think this is the way to go. I really think this is the way to go. Everything's different. Every climate's different. Every situation is different. So it might not work for you, but for my garden and my situation right here, I think this is the right choice. So next thing I wanted to do today, I am back in my backyard right now, and I was back here this morning, and I was taking a little bit closer look at my olive trees, and they are chock full with olives. I don't know how I didn't notice it. You know, I think that there's just been so much going on, but the closer I've looked, the more I've noticed that there are big, beautiful olives on these olive trees that are ready to be picked. In California, olives can be picked in September and October. So we are mid-September. So it's perfect time. And I have a ton of them. And then now that I've paid attention, I was driving on the road out here to my property, and that there's olive trees all along the roads. And I've noticed that they are just chock full of olives, just ready to go. So they can't be eaten like this. You cannot eat them right off of the tree like that. It is way too bitter and way too gross. They have to be cured. So I've never done this before, but I've looked up how to cure olives, and you know, it's a two-step process. You have to cure it, and then you have to brine it. And that's why when you taste olives, when you eat olives, they're basically pickled. They're basically pickled olives, and that's how we eat them. And so I was looking up the process, and there are a couple different ways to do it, and I of course was trying to go for the easiest way. There's a way that you can use lye curing, LYE. I don't want to mess with that. I don't want to do that. But there is a way that you can water cure or brine cure your olives. And so I think I'm going to try the brine cure method. And what that involves picking your olives, washing them, and then you actually want to cut a little slit in the fruit of the olive so that the brine can get into the fruit. And then you put them in a water and salt mixture, and you kind of mix it up every day, and you leave it there for a couple weeks, like quite a while. This is not a quick process, by the way. Then after it's done with the brine curing, you go on to brining, which is where you put all the herbs and the yummy stuff in the brine, and then that's going to make the olives taste yummy. And so I have all these olives. I might as well try it, and I might as well see how it does. This is obviously the first step. We are not going to see the results of this for probably months, but it is time to harvest all these olives. So I thought I could do that. Now I can go through and I can pick each olive, The classic way to get olives is to shake the tree and let all the olives drop to the ground. I'm gonna try, like, we'll try and we'll see what happens. But my goal is to get like one of those big mason jars full of olives so that I can hopefully make some olives for my family and I to enjoy, and then to get Robbie and I like eating charcuterie boards, and so wouldn't it be cool if I could make olives for our charcuterie board? So that's my goal. I mean, these were the easy to reach ones. I have my medium-sized ladder, and these were the ones that I could easily reach without stressing. I could have gotten my really big ladder out and probably gotten twice, 3 times as many, but I think this is plenty, especially for my first time. So I'm going to take these inside and I am going to wash them, and then I'm going to cut a little slit into the fruit of the olive without cutting into the pit. And they say that you want to do that so the brine gets into the fruit. Then I will put them in the brine mixture, and then we'll be good to go. All right, and all done. So this is going to stay in here for 3 to 6 weeks. I am going to be changing out the brine. So I'll be dumping all the olives out, dumping the brine out, washing the olives, and then redoing the brine, putting in another 1 part of salt, kosher salt, to 10 parts of water. And so that is salt brining these olives. Seems pretty easy. And then after 3 to 6 weeks, I'll taste them to see if all the bitterness is gone, and then I'll start adding in the yummy stuff like vinegar and spices and all that pickling stuff. So I'm excited to see how this goes, because if it works, how cool. I have so many olives, and wouldn't this be a fantastic like Christmas gift for people? I mean, it would just be so awesome if I could do that. So it's an interesting experiment. Hopefully it's interesting for you all, even though this is a very long-term experiment. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you all have a chance to get in your garden today.